Okay, I'm going to try exactly the same print again, same settings, only I've just replaced the two centre pieces of the blue PLA and cleaned them off with isopropyl alcohol. Sometimes I like to remove the first part of the skirt, so to speak. It looks to be going a little bit better, a bit less lifting there, even on these first layers. Just a second, I'm not sure how well the camera's getting this in here. It's quite hard to tell, especially blue painter's tape on, you know, blue filament on blue painter's tape. So the nozzle is 220 and the heat bed is set to 30. Exactly the same settings as before, same print. The only thing I've changed here is two fresh pieces of blue painter's tape, the two stripes in the middle there. I don't know if you can really see the stripes, and cleaned it off with isopropyl alcohol. Well, this first layer looks better, looks like it's not sticking up, I don't think, anywhere, so that's encouraging. I talk about this light in some of my other videos, still needs working on. I'm not sure because I forgot to fit a capacitor to the input voltage sort of thing, and it might be getting a false signal because this changes colour, it's RGB, changes the signal to give me a warning of, well, an indication of how hot the heat bed is. It's only on 30 the heat bed, so it's hardly warm at all really, so it's on green, which is okay. This is approximately 8.5 hour print, maybe even 9. Right, I'm going to put it onto time lapse and I'll come back probably in about half an hour, see if it looks like it's curling. normal speed on the video. It's almost an hour into this print. 220 on the nozzle, 30 on the heat bed. That 30 is just a little bit above the ambient temperature of the room. It's a bit hard to tell if that's warping or not on the right hand side. Trying to see that. Oops. I think it's okay actually at the moment. Okay, let's get back on the time lapse just now. So you can move quite sharpish, the nozzle there. This is a 35% infill, blue PLA 1.75, printing onto blue painter's tape. This is 2 new strips down the middle here where it's printing on, which was cleaned off with isopropyl alcohol. E3D version 6 clone hot end, BL touch, that's for auto leveling, really good, really great in my opinion. Use it on almost any bed. It basically comes down, touches down that pin, uses a servo signal, touches down the pin and does the leveling, auto leveling and auto tramming, which as you can see there, the auto leveling is working because it's moving the Z carriage threaded rod here up and down a bit as it's actually printing. That's to allow for any outlook kilter on the print bed there. Okay, I'm going to get this onto time lapse. Well, looks like that layering up 2 new pieces of tape and cleaning off with isopropyl alcohol has stopped the curling, I think. I don't think that's curling there on the right hand side. I think it's just the way the light's reflecting off like layers of plastic there. Let's have a look at the time. Two hours 20 minutes. So my reflection's getting in there. Okay. Seems to be going well, this print. I don't think that's lifting under there, on the right hand side. No, I can't get a sedge of this paper under there. That's a reasonably good test sometimes if you're a bit unsure to try and get some sheet of paper under. Okay, I'm going to put this back on time lapse. Okay, back to normal speed on the video. Let's have a look at the time. Just over 5 hours into this print. And no lifting. Got the light on. You might be able to just about make out the threads in this hole for the push fit connection with the pneumatic tube, basically, for the boarding tube. That is an iteration of this model. Also, you can notice the infill, 35%. This is set to the infill. Let's put back on time lapse just now. actual speed for a while. And we recheck for lifting in the corner there. No, I can't get this sheet of paper under the corner, and I am trying the edge of that sheet of paper. So it isn't lifting. I think there's a bit of a line there actually. I don't know if it's a layer line, what it is, but as you can tell it's not lifting. So putting 2 new pieces of blue painters tape down the centre and then cleaning it off with isopropyl alcohol seems to have solved the problem of lifting as far as I can tell. See the infill a bit there, set at 35%. You might just about make out the threads in the hole there. That's the iteration on this model. Hopefully that will help the push fit connector for the boarding tube fit in. And obviously the dragon motif there. Let's have a look at the time. 6 hours, 6¼ hours basically there. I would estimate it has got at least another 2 hours to go. You can see the auto tramming, the auto leveling, turning the threaded rod for the Z carriage. That's adjusting the height of the nozzle as the print head moves about, basically, and allowing for any out of kilter on the print bed. I have to say, I do recommend auto leveling, and I recommend this, the BL Touch. Comes up, work on just about any bed, basically touch down, the pin comes down under the servo command control on the ramps, and the pin lifts up when it's about to print, so it gets out the way. This is the actual speed. Seems to be printing quite well. Might look a bit over this circle here, but I think it's okay. I think it's the lighting and some ringing on this, well, round neither circle, these like ripples almost. And those ripples and the ringing, so to speak, can make it look, and the lighting can make it look a bit, well, oval when it is actually rounder than it looks. I hope anyway. Watch it a little bit longer on its actual speed. Put the other light on there. I think when I get the shadow of the hot end, like now, over that golden tube hole sort of thing where the push fit goes, it looks more circular. Obviously as the print progresses a bit more, I think it's going to look a bit more circular as well. And some of the black PLAs, this corner here has looked almost indented, as if it shrunk a bit. Yes, it's PLA, shrunk a bit and pulled it in a bit on that sort of corner, but here it looks perfectly straight and 90 degrees to the heat bed. The heat bed is only set to 30 degrees, nozzle is at 220, retraction is 4.5 at 40 millimeters per second. PLA, lower course 1.75, although it did measure more nearer 1.7. Printing onto blue painter's tape, which has been cleaned with isopropyl alcohol. E3D version 6 type hot end, it's a clone, it's not the proper E3D version 6. 0.4 nozzle on there. Board and feeding system using a belt drive system, which I'll talk about here. Okay, let's get this back on time lapse for a while. Back to normal speed on the video. Just thought I'll show you from this angle for a few moments. Notice the dragon motif there. hear the retraction there. It's making that sort of bzz bzz sound, almost buzzing sound. Retraction is set to 4.5 millimeters at 40 millimeters per second. That is quite high for E3D version 6, which this is a clone of. This pretend I'm using here. That's a 0.4 nozzle on. You can see the tramming working away there, auto leveling. On the Z carriages, sort of threaded rods on the right and the left. Also see the LED set up, powered by Arduino Nano, separate from the ramps. Supposed to read the temperature, separate temperature probe under this heat bed in about the centre, and it will change colour and signals depending on the temperature of the heat bed, although it has been inaccurate, especially when cooling down. Now that might be because I forgot to fit a capacitor to the Arduino Nano, to the power supply going in, which might be needed, because when it's switching on and off the hot end and the heat bed, it might be sending a pulse over. Well, it's almost definite it is sending a pulse over, and that's giving a false signal on the Arduino Nano or the sensor sort of converter I'm using. So I'll put the details of that RGB LED here. It's on green at the moment because the bed is only set to 30 degrees. Okay, let's get on to time lapse again. Back on normal speed on the video. Let's have a look at the time. So getting on for 8 hours, 7 hours 53 minutes actually. There's my thermometer on the wall up there. There's a smoke alarm above this printer, just for safety. And this is the belt drive I'm using to print this out with. This is the belt drive. Here's the details. Board and feed. Going through that white tube there. That blue filament behind. There's fins on my steppers, so it'll get pretty warm like, quite hot actually. BL touch, yep, big thumbs up. Trying to catch some of the auto tramming, auto leveling. See there quite a bit, auto tramming there. Raising and lowering the Z carriage up and down slightly as the bed might be uneven and not totally level, but that helps level the bed out. Recommended to have auto leveling on if you can do that. So 8 hours into this print. There's an E3D clone, 0.4 nozzle on there, printing blue PLA onto blue paint estate, which has been cleaned off with isopropyl alcohol. Okay, let's go back to time lapse for a bit. Back to normal speed on the video. And what I've noticed is there seems to be a bit, showing this bit of a bubble almost in this blue paint estate. The note was pressed on here quite firmly. I hope that's not like this part isn't lifting here and the blue paint estate is lifting with it, and that is warped. If it is, it's only very slightly. Obviously I'm going to leave it printing because apart from that it seems like a very good print from what I can tell. You can see the light through that hole where the filament feeds through. Try and get the light behind it there. So it does make those holes quite well there. Not sure what this seems to almost go in a bit here. That might be just the beginning of the thread actually. Put on there. I estimate it's got about 20 minutes to go. That is just an estimate. Oh, and there we are, it's finished. Last time it finished, and it has turned the heat bed off, this turned to yellow, and it shouldn't have turned to yellow. The nozzle and the heat bed are both turned off, and it's stuck on green this time, which is okay. Here is the temperature range, and the bed comes forward, plays a little tune to let me know it's finished. I cannot really see any warping, any lifting, anything like that really. As I say, this blueprint tip here seems to almost have lifted from the bed slightly. It's like a bubble in a way. Over that side, I don't want to take it off yet. Actually, I'm going to leave this on the bed for quite a number of hours, and then see how well it lifts off and get an insight into if there's any warping, which I don't think there is, etc., and see how well like a push fit will actually screw into here. So let's look at the time. So it's 8 hours 27 minutes, we might as well say 8.5 hours. Now it has gone on yellow. So this is acting very odd, especially when cooling down. I'm going to investigate this some more. Try fitting a capacitor to the input. Probably try powering it off a separate 12-volt supply to see if that sorts it out, just as a test. Okay, I'm going to leave this on the bed for quite a few hours and then I'll come back. I'm going to turn off the printer. It's been quite a few hours, and I noticed when I've come down that there are some also like lifting in this blue painter's tape. It's like just raised a bit here as if it's not added. Well, I think it's been adhered, but the pressure of any shrinkage, which might have been even slight, has lifted this up a little bit. Some round here, and there's certainly some round there. I don't know. If that shows up in the camera, you might just see that moving a little bit there. Okay, anyway, let's get the part off the bed if we can. See, that's certainly lifting tape. I'm going to use this scraper just to hold down the tape, actually, more than anything. So I'm not actually putting that under the part. See how it's lifting the tape here. So you can see what's happened to the tape first. Let's show you that. Now I've had this in some other prints that seems to stick to the part okay, adhere to the part, but then it's not adhering to the bed. So look, I think there is a very small bit of curving on this. Sorry, move this light. threads on the edge of the blue painter's tape at the back. So. This has been printing into nothing here, so those supports, I only have supports when it's touching the bed, turned on so to speak. Okay, what we want to try is how well the push fitting will fit into here, because I've tried to print the thread onto there, so I'll just get one off. Okay, here's the fitting I'm going to use. Well, it starts off, well, it goes in extremely easily. Just doing that by hand. I haven't pre-cut this. Just the final bit there, a bit tight. So yes, that is a lot better. When I didn't have the threads on, it was extremely difficult to get this lined up and to go in straight. Was it possible, but it was just difficult to do. So that is an improvement. Let's just try putting this in about that. Well, let me take it out first. Let me put in just a few threads like that. That is a little bit loose, I can feel it, but a few more threads and that's gripping on there. I'm pulling on there quite firm, even though it's not screwed in all the way. Oh, okay, let me don't over tighten these because you will damage the threads, so long as it's snug, something like this. Yep, that's fine. Let's see if the filament can feed up here. Okay, I've got some filament, and this is the end, well, the bottom here that goes into a bit of a cone there, so it helps it feed in. Big bit hard to see this blue filament, not blue painter's tape. Yep, that goes through. I did drill this out, had to drill it out a little bit with a 2mm twist bit. That's fine. Okay, so that's a good iteration. I can't think of any more improvements to this. I have to get it under use for some time and see if anything crops up. But I've got to say, this is probably the final iteration of this model. But why is it seem to be bending on the bottom surface? Seems to lift particularly in this corner, just a very small round there. I've got this which I think has a pretty straight edge. Put the light shining behind it, you can see the damage to the blue painter's tape there. So I'm probably going to be looking for a new printing surface. Well, I've been looking for a while actually. But the question is, which one is the best for the price? Don't want to pay £25, $30 or whatever, and then it only lasts 3 or 4 prints.